The purpose of this video is simply to remind me to practice self-discipline, and I feel like the beginning of a new year is as good a time as any to share it. I feel like New Year's resolutions are very controversial. People resent the fact that there's this immense pressure to change and achieve all your goals, and I get that. But on the other hand, this tradition makes sense. The lead up to the new year is typically a time of rest where you get time off work and school. So we have more time to think than usual, to think about who we are and who we want to be. And so with the new year on the calendar, it's normal that we want to try use that as a motivation to make things happen. But the problem is when we go back to work or school, we don't have time to think anymore. We lose that clarity and just go into survival mode. And I've noticed that a lot this year. One resolution I've had since at least 2023 is to take better care of my health. Since becoming an adult, basically, I've lost the healthy lifestyle I had when I was younger and living at home, where I had more time to think. Now, I tend to eat mindlessly when I'm bored or stressed or just because it's time to eat. And I give up on exercise very quickly because why would I make myself suffer? I can't see beyond the present moment of discomfort or emptiness or rush. There's one dominating voice in my head that's just trying to survive a hectic life in a hectic world. But giving into that voice has resulted in a body that I'm not familiar with, one that's weak and requires me to buy new clothes a size or two up. If I want to feel strong and healthy, I need discipline. So I decided to get a book to help me, a little book called 365 Days with Self-Discipline by Martin Meadows. Now, this book isn't really anything groundbreaking, but it forces you to digest a really simple idea through repetition. It begins with this definition. Self-discipline means living your life the hard way, resisting temptations and instant gratification in order to receive bigger and better rewards in the future. And that idea is basically repeated in different ways throughout the book. Self-discipline isn't about punishing yourself, it's about rewarding yourself. You just need to know what you want and how to achieve it, and then keep that idea firmly close to you, so that when you hear that lazy voice in your head, you can say no with conviction and without regret. But I still want to share some of my favorite parts of this book, the parts that really hit home. There's a lot of repetition of the fact that self-discipline is difficult and uncomfortable, but you have to remember in those moments why you're doing what you're doing. I believe that if a person wants to reach their full potential, he or she can't avoid discomfort. Doing things that might not be entirely pleasant is key to achieving long-term objectives. And in the end, that's what building self-discipline gives you. An easier life, through voluntarily choosing to live it the hard way. There are also many moments that encourage us to stop and self-reflect on how we make decisions. And since reading the book, I've been able to do this more and more. Again, it's just more or less the same idea repeated again and again, but it's that repetition that makes it stick in your head. Remind yourself that the choice you're making today doesn't affect the present moment alone. A momentary decision can and often will reverberate for many years or even decades into the future. The next time you blame an external factor for your lack of self-discipline, think again. Was it the person eating chocolate next to you who controlled what you put in your mouth, or was it you? This one really felt like a slap in the face, because I do have the habit of blaming other people for my lack of self-discipline. The book also highlights the fact that self-discipline is impossible if you don't have a higher purpose, a reason to be self-disciplined, a reason that comes from you and is strong enough to make you stop sabotaging yourself. You have to decide what your highest priorities are and have the courage, pleasantly smiling non-apologetically, to say no to other things. And the way to do that is by having a bigger yes burning inside. Discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. Meadows also provides a comforting idea for a self-indulgent person starting the journey of self-discipline that it's a habit, and like with any habit, practice and persistence is key, and it eventually gets easier and easier and becomes more natural. Habits are like magical powers. The moment they kick in, you no longer need more than perhaps a modicum of self-discipline every now and then to continue performing the same action on a regular basis. What originally was extremely difficult to do is now something you largely do automatically, with little thought or willpower. There's no excuse to not take simple actions now and finally break the train of procrastination. Don't overthink it and don't obsess over the future. Take care of establishing a tiny habit today and take it from there. One reason for not achieving our goals is often the fear of embarrassment or criticism. Your own ego is often a big obstacle in being self-disciplined. Failure, rejection, and humiliation are anything but pleasant. However, the ability to withstand it and keep going is one of the key differences between successful individuals and those who fail to make their dreams come true. Self-discipline isn't only about forcing you to do things that are unpleasant for the sake of long-term goals. It's also about resisting the temptation to stay mediocre in order to avoid criticism. Staying in your comfort zone is safe, and there's little criticism you'll encounter along the way. However, there's a high price associated with this choice. You won't ever get to change your current situation. Over the long term, how important is it really that some unintelligent meathead smirks at you at the gym when you're struggling to complete a set of push-ups? Is the momentary pain of that really greater than the pain of regret when you realize that another year has passed without you acting on your goals? Are there any goals you'd like to pursue but are afraid that you'll embarrass yourself or fail? Have you ever considered that not acting on them leads to surefire failure, while an attempt gives you at least a small chance of success and a 100% chance of learning something new? Getting in good shape is obviously a very common goal that people have, and so it comes up quite a bit in the book too. Meadows gives a lot of advice from his own experience, but one of my favorite parts is this quote from Socrates. "It is a disgrace to grow old through sheer carelessness, before seeing what manner of man you may become by developing your bodily strength and beauty to their highest limit." And finally, these last three quotes don't really fit into any of the previous categories, but I wanted to mention them all the same. Self-discipline is a form of freedom. Freedom from laziness and lethargy, freedom from the expectations and demands of others, freedom from weakness and fear or doubt. Self-discipline allows a pitcher to feel his individuality, his inner strength, his talent. He is a master of, rather than a slave to, his thoughts and emotions. Most of us dread the deadening of the body and will do anything to avoid it. About the deadening of the soul, however, we don't care one iota. It is better to practice a little than talk a lot. For this last one, Meadows goes on to explain why this is so. Research suggests that announcing your plans makes you less motivated to accomplish them. By talking about your plans, you get the erroneous satisfaction that you've already taken action to change yourself, and consequently, you're less likely to take real action. I had to cut down on a lot of the quotes I pulled, otherwise I basically would have put the whole book in, but I hope some of these quotes resonate with anyone watching. Right after starting this book, I had a switch where I was able to pay attention to my body and act accordingly. I had more moments of lucidity where I actually understood my body, and I craved healthy food and movement. At that time, I wasn't eating out of habit. I was in touch with my body and just gave it what it asked. And when doing exercise, instead of focusing on the discomfort, I focused on the strength I have and will have if I continued. The fact that the more I take care of my body, the more it'll take care of me. But then life got messy and chaotic, and my mind and body lost touch again. I regained the habit of mindlessly eating because of habit and time constraints. But it's not the same. As I said, there is a switch, and it's still the case. Now I'm overall more conscious of these two mindsets, these two combating voices. There's the voice that's just trying to get through to the next moment versus the voice that knows that that's not good enough. I can clearly hear the two more often now, even if I don't always quite have the force to fight it yet. But as the book says, the more I practice, the easier it'll become, and it's already the case. Now, my self-discipline side is more self-aware. I'm more clear on my goals and reasoning behind them, so when I'm taking a decision, whether it's about what I'm eating or what I'm spending money or time on, it's harder for me to justify taking the easy way out. And so now it's another new year. I've once again had the time to reflect, and with a new number on the calendar, I have that urge to do what's best for me, even if it's not pleasant in the moment. I hope this video will solidify this idea and keep that self-disciplined voice alive and assertive. Even though I know I'm going to get busy and forget the big picture, hopefully that voice will continue to get stronger and stronger the more I practice.